playing no games. Forever stay real. We the hashtag unfiltered gang. So, hi everyone, and welcome back to Unfiltered. I'm Kay, and today we are deep diving into a really powerful topic: addiction and recovery, and addiction awareness, and also overdose awareness. This episode is one that hits personal, real, and raw. We've got, instead of three, four special guests joining us to share their story and perspective, and I will also be sharing some of my experiences along the way. Our caring and amazing co-hosts Liz and Tato decided to sit this one out to learn and listen along with everyone who has joined. Before we bring up our guest speakers, I want to start by breaking down some common myths and truths about addiction. Because too often, what we think we know keeps people from getting help, so let's clear the air. These are some myths about addiction I want to start off with so we can break the stigma that's been created by society. Society will say addiction is a choice, when in reality, addiction often starts with a choice, but once it develops, it becomes a chronic disease that changes brain chemistry, making quitting extremely hard without getting help. Society will tell us that you can't stop, you can stop if you really want to, when in reality, willpower alone isn't enough. Recovery usually needs support, therapy, medical care, and a community effort of help. Society and stereotypes will say only certain kinds of people get addicted. Addiction doesn't discriminate. It affects people of all ages, backgrounds, income levels, and professions. A couple more myths that I have heard is that society and their stigma often say if someone relapses, they failed. Well, guess what? About 40 to 60 people in recovery relapse, yes. But that's a similar relapse rate for chronic illnesses like diabetes and hypertension. Let me tell you, you're not a failure. Please remove this myth that addiction means weakness or lack of morals. Because when it's not about morals or character. It's about how the brain and the body respond to substances and trauma. A lot of society will say before even helping, you have to hit rock bottom before getting help. In reality, early intervention saves lives. You don't have to lose everything to get help and seek support. And last but not least, that medication assisted treatment like methadone or Suboxone is just replacing one drug with another. Wrong. When abused, yes, it can be dangerous. It can. But these treatments are proven to help people recover and reduce overdose risk. It's recovery, not substitution. Here are some truths I've learned along the way about addiction, things that can help spread awareness and maybe even reach someone in need or just starting their recovery journey. Addiction is a medical condition and not a moral failure. It affects brain structure and function, especially areas controlling judgment, decision making, and self control. Recovery looks different for everyone. Some people use the 12-step program, others use therapy, some people use harm reduction or medication. They're all valid. Language matters. Saying a person with a substance use disorder instead of addict reduces stigma and humanizes the person because we're still human. Trauma is often at the root. Many people turn to substances as a way to cope with unresolved trauma or mental health struggles. Community support saves lives. Connection, not isolation, helps people heal. Judgment pushes people away, and compassion brings them back. Addiction affects families, communities, not just individuals. Awareness and education helps loved ones understand how to support recovery without shame or blame. And this is why I'm here today and tonight to share this awareness, to share these help these ladies share their stories so we can have this awareness out there and we can stop the stigma. Awareness saves lives. Talking about it, using your platform, whether it be on TikTok, FB, or any other social media app. Let people know they are not alone. Go to someone, educate them, break the silence and stigma. But did you know, because you know I had to come with some more facts. Did you know that over 100,000 overdose occur in the US annually, and this is from the CDC in 2023, mostly are linked to fentanyl and other synthetic opioids, which are 50 times stronger than heroin. That's 100,000 people which die from drug overdoses in the US every year, and that's one person every 5 minutes. Let that sink in for a second. Every 5 minutes, someone is unaliving. Did you know that people with untreated trauma are up to 4 times more likely to develop an addiction? Or that more than 46 million Americans get aged 12 and older, 12 and older, have had a substance use disorder in 2022, but only 6 received treatment? Did you know that stigma is one of the top reasons why people don't seek help for addiction more than just cost or care of access? Did you know that people in recovery are some of the most resilient individuals, with millions of them living successful, sober lives every single day? So, here to tell us stories are these 4 amazing, beautiful, resilient, amazing women. Let's welcome Caitlin, Miney, Cleo, and Angelina. So, first is, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are outside of your addiction story? Like who you are today without your addiction story.
Starting with me.
Yes, ma'am.
We're doing it. I guess I don't really know how to answer that question. This past year has been extremely crazy, and I've handled it all completely sober. I think I'm a prime example that you can absolutely do and get through anything absolutely sober. It's not even an option for me anymore. Unfortunately, I've kind of lost myself in the past year. I'm a mom before anything. I lost my daughter for a long time. I've spent a lot of time in prison, as you know what I mean? So I think I've just tried to overcompensate within the past year, because I haven't had my daughter for so long that, like, that's it. That's me right now. Like, just mom, significant other, trying to save him, which has been, tough in itself. So, to be honest, that, now we've moved, right? So like there's bags and boxes everywhere. So I'm praying like the next year and the next step forward is where I can finally focus on myself. I want to go back to school. I want to go into addiction studies. I do not surround myself in the rooms as often as I used to. I don't think NA and AA is a one size fit all program. I've seen a lot of people do very well in it. My father did very well for 36 years. He also relapsed this past year. So like when I tell you this last year has been absolute shit, and I've been able to manage it completely and utterly sober, and really without even much of a support system either, right? So like I have a CRS, I see them like once a month. I am on Sublocade. I'm on like the lowest dose you can possibly be on. But as far as like me as a human being, it's very hard to answer that question right now. I just pray like the next step, because now like I have like 4 years clean now, right? I had a slip up when I got out of prison, and then I got back on track. But like I all did that like out of willpower, so it can be done with willpower. You know what I mean? Like just enough was enough. But I have not truly been able to focus on me and what I want out of life in a very long time. So this right now is like my next step of that journey. It's like finding myself and where I belong. Because like we're women too. Like we're not just moms. We're not just significant others. And we're not just in recovery. Like, so like I said, it's just very hard to answer that just currently. But hopefully within the next year that'll change. My name is Caitlin.
Okay.
I'm petty, Minnie, either way. But I'm just a mom who's trying to do right for her kid. who tries to make sure my kid don't fall down the same traps that I did or have the life that I did. I try to be better than that and give him a better life. Obviously, I'm not perfect. I haven't had my downfalls, but really I'm just a mom out here trying to make it day by day. I have my struggles, but yeah.
All right, Cleo.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cleo. I am going to be the big 4-0 in the middle of November, so that makes me a Scorpio. I'm Irish, Italian, Puerto Rican. My favorite color is yellow. I have 4 beautiful girls, ages 19, and right now is a really fun time because I have Irish twins, so I have 2 8-year-olds right now, and then a 3-year-old. I am an RBT, so that means I work with autistic kids and adolescents for my day job. And I don't know, I just become a really good friend. I'm loved, I'm loving, I'm nurturing, and like that's not what I could have said about myself ways back. However, I'm a lot of things today. I have hobbies today. I'm super excited about my 40th birthday party because I'm going to have one of those Shakiri boards and I'm hoping everyone participates. We're going to have inappropriate shirts, and I hope this is like an 18 and up.
Yes,
right?
it is.
So
It is.
my shirt is going to say, if you won't eat your girl, I will. Yeah, and I'm super excited. We're going to just do music and really good time. And so yeah, like there's a lot of things about me today. Does most of the days seem very monotonous? Absolutely monotonous, but there's still, like, in the big grand scheme of things, there's a whole lot more. Thanks.
All right, and then lastly, ma'am in the
Hi.
purple.
Hi, guys. My name is Angelina. I am a follower of Christ, a wife to an amazing husband, been married 9 years, 4 beautiful kids, 3 girls, 1 boy, a stay-at-home mom, enjoy making sure my kids are fully loved and know who they are, and I'm being unapologetically myself, knowing that if God is for me, then who can be against me? I love to go to church and be on TikTok. And I'm 36 years old.
Okay, and you guys already know me since you guys are all my friends. But I am Kay, real name Kayla, which I never use. I am 34 years old. I'm a girl mom. My daughter, my youngest, is on the spectrum. I'm going on almost 7 years sober of anything hard drug related, which when it comes to drinking, I'm going on almost 60 days. Um, which is taking a lot because life just keeps throwing things my way. But I'm here today because I was who I am outside of my recovery. I am a mother. I am a best friend. I am a podcast creator. I am someone who opens up platforms for those who need awareness. I am someone who will be doing different things like this to have the community expand. Like you ladies are 4 different ladies of different paths, but you have one thing in common and you don't know how much more it can go. So the next question is, what's something positive or fun you've been into lately? Just lately, something fun or positive in your life that you've been into lately. We'll start with Petty since the box has changed.
Honestly, after 4 years, I finally just got a car. I'm able to take my kid wherever, like to the park. We actually just went to a trick or treat at the nursing home. Our grand aunt is in there, and just to be able to go and to be able to leave the house when I want, to be able to go do activities with my kid, that just makes me happy. It keeps my mind, whatever it's called.
Occupied?
Yeah, thank you.
I
It keeps
got you.
my mind occupied. My son is also on the spectrum. So like just to get his attention, it's hard. So like there's some like just to be able to go do activities and stuff with him is my fun time.
That's awesome. All right, thank you, Patty. Miss Cleo.
Hey, Cleo here. I forgot to announce my clean time. So we have been clean since February 11th, 2016. And what I love to do for fun is forever changing, because it's been like a constant journey of like discovering myself, because I've shut myself down for so many years and so long. But most recently, I had a full hip replacement in March of this year. I didn't know, like, I have like some genetic stuff going on, right? They can't figure it out, but I guess I have like 90-year-old hips from the x-rays, right? Real alarming. Every doctor that saw it was like, what the? So because of that, I've been really into like trying to find free events and take my kids to as many things as possible, despite the fact that like financially, you know what I mean, I'm still not in the green yet. So yeah, just live in the moment by moment, trying to embrace the help when the help's there, smile and laugh at my kids' goofiness as much as possible instead of getting stressed out about it. Yeah, but I've always loved like pens, paper. I'm such like a pen stationery whore. I love all the colors. So like my most favorite thing right now is those erasable gel pens. If you haven't heard about them, they're life-changing. I don't have OCD, but I like my calendars to be pretty and I hate scratching stuff out. So copy some of those. That's all I got.
All right, Miss Spicy. The question is, hold on, let me scroll up. The question is, what's something positive or fun you've been into lately?
Sorry.
It's okay, mom
Um,
life. We all know.
yes. Um, what have I been? Everybody knows I live on TikTok. Playing my games, hosting the games, just staying very active. I am on a weight loss journey. I will be having my surgery in March, so I've been trying to get my body ready for that. So my son also is in soccer, so I do go and take him to his practices, to his games. Just I love taking the kids to the park and just doing things with them that I didn't see maybe was possible in my addiction. And I'm gonna be completely honest, on my date, I don't exactly know. Um, but it has been over, I need to do the math on it. But I stopped when I was about 23 and I'm 36 now. So it's been quite a while. And I don't think I realized that I was also addicted to alcohol, but I have been sober off of that since November. So in November, actually, the November 17th will be a year off alcohol too.
Yes. And Miss Caitlin, the question is, what's something positive or fun you've been into lately?
Um, yeah, so sorry, the first round of that I was completely distracted. My daughter's super excited. We have more space now, so she's running up and down the hallways. So I actually work for a family. The woman's disabled, but she has taught me so much about like holistic medicine, and just everything organic and healing your body, and with just food, right? So if anybody wants any tips, I'm your girl. But like that's like that's it for me. Like I'm so unbelievably like intrigued by just the fact that like everything that our body needs, God put here. And I can go on and on about that, but we'll be here forever. But yeah, just like holistic medicine, different herbs, teas, essential oils, like that's my thing right now. And I don't think I've ever, other than drugs and alcohol, I don't think I've ever necessarily had something that I have been so passionate about. And just like, going anywhere I can with my kid. We did just lose our vehicle. Like I said, this year's been hell. So just trying to get as creative as I can with her. You know, and now that we do have more space, we have a little more freedom in that regard. So,
All right. Miss Cleo, when did you first notice addiction starting to creep into your life?
So for me, for a very long time, it was very social. I didn't really start doing a lot of heavier substance until I was 26, and I got clean when I was 30. So the unmanageability piece wasn't really clear yet in the beginning. So it took me a very, very long time. But looking back at it, I did always feel the need to be smoking something, you know, to calm down. And I used to say, oh, this is the solution because I have a lot of anger problems. So, you know, weed was the solution to my anger problems. And it seemed very manageable for a very long time. And with that just came, you know, exposure to other things. And then I realized like I was addicted to the fast life, the money, the chaos, the always doing something, the fighting, like all that, the adrenaline of just everything, right? So for me, I didn't fully understand that I suffered from the disease of addiction until I was 30, and there was nothing else I could look at. I had kept trying different substances. There was no one else to blame but myself. Everything began and ended with me. So for me, I'd have to say 30 was when I really understood, like, you got a problem. It's you. You need to stop. The drugs don't help. It's not going to be if you switch stuff up. It's not going to be if you take a break. Buying yourself something isn't going to help you. Getting in another relationship isn't going to help you. You know, the location geographically of like, oh, the new friend group isn't going to help you. Like, you know what I mean? Because everything had just come to like a crashing halt. I remember hearing how and what addictions did to other people, and I'd be like, that'll never be me, right? Please, like, I'll never be homeless. I'll never do that drug. But you know, here I sit. I had been in jail in 3 different counties, a total of 10 times. I have been on probation like 5 or 6 times. A lot of those stays were like probation violations, right? But I always caught a new charge when it was a probation violation. It wasn't just like a dirty urine. I went big or went home. It was,
And not to cut you off,
yeah,
but if you know in Pennsylvania, you get caught once, you're in there for life.
yes.
Let's just say that.
It takes a very long time. And it wasn't until, you know, I surrendered when I was 30 that I actually, I made it to unsupervised probation, which I didn't know was a thing, right? And then I didn't get a letter in a while. It was like 5 months. So I called the probation office. I was like, I just want to make sure, like, I don't have a warrant. I haven't gotten a letter, blah, blah, blah. Like, is everything okay? Do I need to do something? And they're like, they looked up, they're like, oh, you're off probation. And I'm like, oh, okay, bye. And hung up. But, you know, that was just because I stopped picking up. And by stop picking up, like, the friends weren't attractive anymore. Going to those places wasn't attractive anymore. You know, so things were very easy when I let go of that stuff, man. It was very, very easy. So I am still diving in deep, you know, through inventorying and self-reflection and seeing patterns today that I didn't realize I had, that like, there's no denying it. I'm an addict. I'm always going to be an addict. If I want these gel erasable pens, I'm going to get the 24 pack and I'm going to get 2 of them. If I already have a notebook that I haven't even written in, I'm going to get 5 more because they're pretty. Like, that's just what it looks like for me. It's always like more. It's just, at least it's just less harmful. You know what I mean? That's all.
I don't know, honestly, I was trying to think even when you first asked the question, she was answering. I can't remember when I realized it was bad. I know, or when I realized I was an addiction because it creeped up so slowly. It was like one day it was like, oh, let's try some soda. Okay, that's fine, it's not too harsh. And then next thing I know, it's the harder stuff and not knowing when to stop. But I can't recall honestly when I remembered that I was too far in or that I was there.
It's okay. That's fine. That's a perfect answer. Caitlin?
Um, so it's funny. There's this memory, I guess, that kind of comes back to me when I'm asked like a question like that or something similar, and actually, like, it kind of goes back to childhood, and you see addictive behaviors well before the drugs even take place, and it was like I stole somebody's Tamagotchi and I helped them look for it, like stuff like that. But as like things like that, though, throughout my life up until I was about 15, it was always little dumb things like that, even running away while my mom was sleeping, and just always pushing boundaries. I was never a good student. I never felt like I belonged anywhere. I always felt like I remember like looking out my window as a kid, like feeling like I was missing out on something. Like there was always something going on that I had to be a part of. And I remember watching like a TED talk in rehab one time where like he really broke it down to connection, right? Like, or disconnect. Like us as addicts, we've become disconnected somewhere in our life, and we use the drugs somehow to fill that connection, fill that void, So, but when the drugs really took control of my life, it was probably around, well, I don't know, probably 15 and on. They've always kind of consumed me from like day one. I never just did one thing. Heroin obviously took a big toll on my life, and consumed my 20s. I mean, I'm 35 now, and like, where did the time go? So like, yeah, I've been sober for 5 years, and I do feel like I've gone through the healing process and things like that. But as far as like I feel like this isn't the life sobriety necessarily promised me. So I'm a little disappointed at where I am right now, even in sobriety. But yeah, like I guess maybe 19, 21, when I was going into strip clubs to meet, which is now my baby's father, unfortunately, to meet him to buy drugs. And like that's, getting them for free, and, doing things we shouldn't be doing for that next one. I think we can all kind of relate where that's concerned. But I don't think there's any one special moment where I'm like, oh, wow, this is where it took off. It's always consumed my life in one form or another. So.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Sure.
Patty?
It's good right now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
You're
I'm so
okay.
sorry. I knew you was worrying about that. I'm sorry. I was just in a bad spot. I didn't know I'd be leaving around the time. So what was the question again? I'm sorry.
The question is, when did you first notice addiction starting to creep into your life?
Oh yeah, and I wanted to say also, I forgot to say, in January will be my 2nd year clean. It's like
Something fun or positive that I've been into lately, I'm gonna mute you, has been this podcast. Um, my two co-hosts can tell you that when I say I'm invested, I am invested. This is my baby, besides the baby that I already have. Um, this gives my ADHD so much things that I can focus on. I love the research part. I love getting all the facts and everything. I love learning new things. I love creating our own merch, our own sound. I love doing it. I love the creating aspect of it. And I never knew. I've made cups before, I've made pens before, I've made shirts before, but I never knew something like this would be my calling. And I guess you never know until it's something that you're just like, oh, well, I think I'm going to do this. And you just dive into it, and you bring two of your best friends along the ride with you, and you're like, you're stuck, Chuck. But for you guys,
yeah. But I'm on Suboxone, and to some people, they're like, "Oh, you're not clean because you're on those." It actually helps me every day of my life. I'm good, right?
yes,
Okay, sorry. I don't know why this. Okay. Um. So I'll be 2 years clean in January. And what, like, do I tell like what creeped on me, or like what
No,
caused me
when
my
did
addiction?
when did you first notice addiction starting to creep into your life? When you first noticed, like, damn, I'm an addict.
I'm addicted. Okay. Okay. So, like, someone said earlier, I'm always gonna be an addict. I'm gonna be an addict in recovery. Like, always gonna be an addict, regardless if I'm on something or not. When you're sober, you're sober, but like you're always gonna be considered an addict, and that's okay. But when I first noticed it, honestly, at the time, I did not. I tried to fight it. I'm like, oh no, I'm not an addict. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm not that deep in it, like I could stop today. Like, that was my mindset. But then I failed to realize that um I was an addict. And when I noticed it was when I'm not gonna lie, I had CPS called on me. And I was like, damn, okay, maybe I am too far into it. I beat that case, but like it was still like it was like a realization for me, like, like I didn't want to believe I was that far, or consider, like, did not want to believe I was an addict at all. But then I came to that realization, like, damn, you are.
Hold on. We're gonna pause real quick because we get some troll accounts. Caitlin, does your daughter have another account that's called Ava is Cute 34? Or I just don't want anyone to be messing with her kid. I don't know if it was blocked already or anything. No, Ava is Jess, stop blocking that account, Jess. I know who I know who that account is. Big Pooba Scuba, I know who that is. But there was an account that came in that said Ava Ava's Cute 34. So I'm just trying to see if you guys knew. But all right. Sorry about that. I just don't like when kids are involved, things like that. But when I first noticed that addiction started to creep into my life, I'm gonna say I was literally born an addict. My mom and my dad are both addicts. My grandmother's an addict. My grandfather's an addict on my mom's side. I don't know my dad's side that well. Um, I My first marriage was to a not very good person. But anyway, when I first realized, like, damn, I'm an alcoholic, was when I was 22 and I had already been thrown out of 4 Miami bars because I was so blacked out drunk. That's when I was like, I need help with this. But then I started again. And then when I first noticed that it creeped into my life and I was an addict was um I was I was already way deep into my addiction. And this is gonna get deep and this is gonna get triggering, so I'm just gonna get let you guys know, and this is a trigger warning. My mom, because of TikTok and its community guidelines, I'm going to use the word H, and you guys already know what that is. So if you guys are going to speak on different other rugs, just because of, the community guidelines, just use the first letter. Um, but my mom was addicted to H, and I remember I used to crush up my Xanax and I used to mix it with H and I used to sniff it. And I would fall asleep on my oldest daughter. I would, well, not on her, but like she would be playing, I'd fall asleep. I'd be all over the place. But the one moment that I said this needs to like I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm an addict. I was self-harming. I was self-harming in the bathroom, and I looked up as I was going to make my final cut, and I saw my mom with the syringe, literally in the mirror. And my mom's been unalive since I was 3 years old. So that's when I threw everything I had in the garbage and I went cold turkey, which was the worst mistake of my life because, hello, here comes the heart problems. Because if you guys know and you're true addicts, what comes with that? Anxiety, heart problems, everything else, because your body just gets messed up. But my next question, and since Petty went last, I'll just go down to Cleo and around. Was there a specific moment when you started to realize things were getting out of control?
You said me first?
Mhm.
Oh,
Just
sorry.
because Petty went last.
You're good. I was answering a question in the chat too. That's why I missed it. So, when do I feel like everything started getting out of control?
When did you realize things were getting out of control?
Okay. It's so hard to separate all the things I've learned today, present day, from like that moment, right? So with all the growth and all the work and writing and reflection and help that I've given and received, these are all things that are a direct result. Like I see all these things as a direct result from the work that I have done. In the moment, I didn't think anything was wrong though. In the moment, I didn't see anything wrong with my behaviors, my actions. I was surrounding myself by people that made it like very okay. So I am the last in my family to become a recovering addict, right? My family too is riddled with addiction. I'm sure there's still a few of us that are using, right? However, you know, like my father has my like bio dad, he has a year less sober than I do. And my mother passed away from an HOD when I was 10 years old. And that's what brought me out to PA in the first place. So it has always surrounded me. And it's always crazy to think about all the things that I witnessed as a child or was warned about as a child and said I would never do, but I did it anyway. So for me to, you know, try to pinpoint a specific time where I was like, oh, this is crazy, it was probably like the substances I was using at the time. So like, for example, if I'm on C and I'm up for days, I'm like, this is crazy, right? Because it affects you physically, you feel it, but it wasn't enough to stop me. It wasn't enough to stop me. So despite things being so crazy, it still wasn't enough, right? I would mix stuff all the time as well, trying to like fix a feeling with a feeling, but really it was always coming, like it was the inside that needed the work. I just remember even back in high school, like all my friends could smoke L and be fine. Me, I want to do it all day. You know, it's nonstop, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And you would still think that I'd be like, oh man, this is a problem. You know, I'm out of control. When I was homeless, you would think I'm out of control. When I signed over physical custody to my now 19-year-old, when she was the ages between 6 and 9, because I thought she'd be better off. You would think I'd be like, huh, I'm out of control. But no, like none of that happened for me, unfortunately. It wasn't until I got sick and tired of myself that I was like, this is out of control. I'm out of control. You know, it just took a while for me. I'm more stubborn than most.
That was the question, right?
The question is, wait, what was it? Was there a specific moment where you realized things were getting out of control?
Okay. So I know it's going to sound weird, but I was at one point a very functioning addict. Um, I would still work. I would still do everything as a functioning member of society, still pay bills, still did everything. Um, but I used to take care of, oh, Jesus Christ. Can you skip me?
Caitlin, go ahead until she's ready.
Uh, um, okay. I think from like the moment I started, like obviously, I started with smoking cigarettes, smoking weed, and I graduated pretty quickly. But I don't think it really. I don't think I saw a huge problem until I didn't know what withdrawal was. Um, and then somebody had to explain why I felt the way I felt. And that's when I realized, oh my God, like now I physically need something. But I was an alcoholic before, I ever hit the hard stuff. And that was always very much out of control. I remember waking up as a teenager, in the wrong places, not remembering the night before. I was always a blackout drunk. So that was always very much out of control. And the crazy thing is like I grew up in the rooms. Like I don't know if I mentioned my father, he was 36 years clean and sober in recovery. He just relapsed this past year. So like none of us are exempt. Like it stops working. It truly stops working when you stop putting the work in. And I truly believe that. I feel like my father thought he was invincible and thought he could take a pain pill. And to hear that my father went for those pressed pills that are going around is like mind-boggling to me, but that's a whole nother issue. But for me, it was when like I didn't know what withdrawal was, and then I had to do anything and at all costs, right, to not feel the way that I felt, not being able to sleep, and just the withdrawals in general, I think is when I realized that we have a huge problem now.
I think I got this.
Caitlin.
I'm gonna try to go through this as quick as possible. So, like I said, I still worked. I did everything, and I used to babysit my older sister's kids. And I remember, I would always try to make sure I wasn't loaded when I watched them. Like I wouldn't take any rugs to her house. I would always like, so I lived maybe like a street down. And when I would walk to go watch her kids, I'd always leave my rugs. I know it is dangerous, and thinking back at it now, it's like, damn, anybody could have picked them up. But I would always hide them because I didn't want to take them to my sister's house. So one night, I didn't think I had to go to work the next morning, so that was when I would get loaded the most. That's when I would stay up the most. That's when I would stay up, and do them all night. Well, this particular day, I was doing them all night, and I guess I had already been on it for a couple of days, so I guess it was done. I had hit my limit. And I passed out, and my sister was blowing up my phone at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I obviously wasn't answering it. And she came banging on the door, and I just remember being like, "Oh fudge!" Like my whole world's gonna come like they're gonna find out everything, because I used to, if anybody, I mean, I probably have the enhancer on, but if you can kind of tell all these marks, I used to pick my face really bad. You know how we all have like our little hicks, like their tweezers, whatever. So, but I always made sure I patched them up before I went there. And that day I had no choice but to get up and go. And I just remember like that feeling, like that I let my kids down. Like I let my sister down, I let my family down. And that was when I was like, yeah, I was way too deep in.
Thank you. Patty, what was the specific moment where you realized things were getting out things were getting out of hand?
My specific,
It's okay.
that word, moment.
Specific moment.
Yeah, thank you. Shit. was actually, like I said earlier, CPS. Like them, like coming to my door was like, hey, like, and I wasn't like strung out like Spicy said earlier. I was a functioning. I was cleaning. I was working. I was doing everything like for my kid, like taking care of my kids still. Like I wasn't passed out, you know. And also like what made not saying what made it worse was my baby dad also I was reviving his life every day, if that makes sense. He was on Fetty really bad, and like I'm not even exaggerating, like 25 times or more, not even exaggerating. I gave him CPR. I saved his life in front of my kid. Um, um,
If you need a minute, you can take a minute. It's okay.
and that just made me realize, like, I don't want to be like that deep in it, you know, like my kid needs me. I'm all he's got, you know? So yeah, like, yeah.
Thank you, Patty. Next question for Cleo, for all of you ladies, is how did your addiction affect your relationships? Meaning like your family, friends, or even the relationship you have with yourself.
So for me, I always thought I was functioning. I always thought I was fine. I always thought nobody could tell. You know what I mean? But the truth of the matter is that I wasn't present. I wasn't a good granddaughter. And I say that because my grandparents are who raised me, you know, after my mom passed away. I wasn't a good friend. I wasn't good to the community or neighbor. Like anywhere I went, I was not good for anybody that came in my path. So, you know, I could try, I would sit there and I would lie to myself and I would say that everything was fine. But the truth of the matter is it wasn't. And so it took a lot of time to rebuild myself. Sorry. And get to that point where I was able to unlearn some real toxic learned behaviors. So some of it was a direct result from like living that lifestyle for so long. And other times it's learned behavior from what I grew up with, you know, that I didn't even realize that I picked up. And I'll catch myself saying certain things that like was said to me that I didn't like when I was a kid. And I'd be like, oh shit, you know? And it's those types of moments that take like the most reflection, right? But the truth of the matter is there's always going to be good days. There's always going to be bad days, right? I was the one in the family that everybody wrote off and thought that I would just die like this. Like my grandmother had a life insurance policy out on me for a very long time. She had a life insurance policy out on my mother that we ended up having to use, right? But everyone thought that that was just going to be how I was going to go out too. And when I turned 30, it was a huge deciding factor because my mother passed away when she was 30. So, and then I only had one child, you know, she only had me. I'm a single kid, a sibling, whatever, you know, I'm an only child. And so it's all these different patterns that I was seeing, and it just became less and less easy to deny the fact that like I was toxic to whoever I came across. There was nothing, I don't know, I was just not beneficial to anybody at all. Today, you know, my kids love me. My oldest can talk to me. You know, yeah, we'll get in our moments. We'll yell and scream, but like I only yell at people I love. Like I'll only go back and forth with someone that I love. You know what I'm saying? If I don't give a shit about somebody, it really goes down to like if you don't fuck me, feed me, or pay my bills, I really don't care. Type mentality, real quick. However, you know, we're always able to come back from it. You know, today I'm able to apologize, which isn't something that I was ever able to do. Like I was never able to apologize or see it. Like I still don't do that shit perfectly. However, I'm still willing to hear other people, when they have a problem. And for me, that's where the growth is at. Um, and that's where the relationships can start to develop, and I can start to get better with them. But if you ask anyone that's met me 5, 6 years ago, they'll say I'm great and I'm amazing and I'm so happy and I'm calm and this, that, and third. And I just look at them crazy because I'm like, really? Like, that's what you see in me? Because sometimes it's like, when we have like body dysmorphia and we gain weight, we lose weight, we gain weight, we lose weight. When we lose the weight, we still see the person from when we were big, and for me, that's the same thing. When people talk about my growth, I still see that person that hasn't done anything. So it's always a shock to me when someone says like, oh, never, I could never picture you being X, Y, and Z. I was like, if you only knew. But yeah, it's just a process. It takes a lot of vigilance, I take a step forward, I take some steps back. But I know that the only thing that's ever going to change me from ever being able to come out of anything on the other side is if I pick back up. So that's why that's not an option for me anymore.
Thank you, Cleo.
I don't remember the question.
Okay. How did your addiction affect your relationships with your family, friends, or even yourself?
Looking back now, I feel like I was always just super numb. Like I never, like as much as like I said, I was a very functioning. I think I was a very functioning, addict. But I mean, I would like. I remember when when I made the decision to let drugs go to the side. I remember I was being cut off by my family because they couldn't take it anymore. And I've always been super, I wouldn't say scared of my dad, but very respectful to my dad. And he was the only one that I cared if he found out. Anybody else, I mean, in my eyes, it was like if I still showed up and if I still did what I had to do, then it shouldn't matter to you guys. But it was my dad. When he found out, it was like a dagger in my heart. But I still chose drugs over him. And I think for that, it was when I was like, oh, dang. I just remember the day. So my sister had called me over. And I remember like it was just yesterday. It's so crazy. I was sitting on the bench and she tells me that my dad's on the phone. And I'm like, okay, Ann, because he was in Mexico. I was like, okay, Ann. He's like, he wants to talk to you. And I didn't know she had told him at this point. And he's telling me that, I needed to go to rehab and then I need to do this, that, and the other. And I remember just like hanging the phone up on him and just leaving because I had my plug at the house waiting with my rugs. I wasn't going to miss that. But as that's when I realized my relationships that I thought I had weren't what I thought they were. They were all very like it wasn't real because it was just what I thought was going on in my head because I thought I was still very there, but I wasn't there anymore. That makes sense. So
Yeah.
it was a struggle later. I realized it later on in life how bad I had messed up friendships and relationship with my parents and my mom and my dad at one point and my sisters because they got to a point where they couldn't really trust me anymore. So I could thank God that, I'm not in that place anymore.
Thank you. Caitlin, the question was, how did your addiction affect your relationship, family, friends, or even the relationship you had with yourself?
I don't think I had a relationship with myself. I ruined a lot of relationships. I did. Probably biggest one was with myself. Like for instance, when I was in prison, like I really had to dig deep and think like, what did I enjoy? Before addiction ever really played a part, and try and like get back to basics that way to figure out anything about myself again, you know? So that's where I started rebuilding within myself. Something very simple, right? But like, you know, mine and my parents have always had a rough relationship because, like I said, like I wasn't always, I wasn't a good kid. You know, I just wasn't. I always wanted to try something new, and I was always stealing their cars, and you know, anything that you could possibly do to destroy a relationship, I probably did. So, you know, my mom being up for days at a time, just, you know, waiting for me to come home because I would disappear at 15, 16 years old. And, you know, as I got older too, like she would just come searching the streets looking for me, pick me up just so she knew I was fed and took a shower that day. And then she would drop me off at the same place. You know, at least she knew she did her part, I guess, you know. And being on the other side of that fence now, I do understand where that might have gave her some peace of mind in that regard. But, and like, it's just crazy today, like having my father like ask me for MAT medicine, you know, it's just like, it's, tables have turned significantly. And to think that I'm the strong one now when I've always been like the chaotic one is just, it's very crazy to really put all that into perspective. But you know, I've ruined a lot of relationships. That's really to sum it all up. You know what I mean? I mean, how could you not?
Okay.
So
Thank you, Caitlin.
thank you.
Patty, do you need me to repeat the question?
No. Um, I never had a relationship with my parents, so I can't really say anything on that. I never had friends really in the outside world of TikTok. I was always getting bullied. But I just ruined my relationship with my kid. Now it's not, but I regained that back. But I could have done a lot more for him when he was younger. But yeah, I never really had relationships. Like, still to this day, my parents don't know what I've been through. Like, you know, I don't have friends to be able to tell my story to. So yeah, I never had to really do that with them. I just should have done a lot. I ruined, like, when my kid was a baby, I should have done a lot more with him.
Okay, that's understandable. Um, my addiction, in my addiction, I didn't really have any friends because I was just under um the person who was feeding me the rugs, if I want to say it that way. Family wise though, I my family had to learn to love me from afar because they're like, we can't trust you. We don't know who this person is anymore. This is not Kayla. This is somebody else. My cousin even had a cute nickname for me, Kaylina, because she was the life of the party. And the relationship with my 10-year-old. My 10-year-old going to jail, coming out of jail, I had to tell her why I was away. And I actually spoke about this a week or two ago on our last episode, explaining to her, because kids know more than we think, explaining to her what jail meant. I didn't explain to her why I went in or the whole story, but she had to learn what a recovery house was. Cleo met her. The next question is, what was a turning point that pushed you toward recovery? And then I'm going to make it a double question. When you did get pushed toward recovery, did you seek treatment, rehab, or did you start recovery in another way? Miss Cleo, because
Okay.
we're going like
Okay, cool.
this way.
I was just checking.
No, you're good.
Because now she has service and stuff. So what pushed me? Okay, so I had been in and out. My pathway to recovery is a 12 step. So I have a sponsor. I sponsor. I have the 12 and 12. So I've written and worked on the 12 steps, 12 traditions. I'm going back around. I always make sure that I'm in service. So my service commitments right now, I am the secretary for activities committee. I'm the overall chair for my home group. I secretary Saturday night meeting, and I chair a women's meeting on Sundays. Um, and so for me, that took a long time to do, right? I'd come in and out, and I wasn't doing any of those things. I would have a sponsor by name. I wouldn't do any writing. I would just have this big smile and tell everyone that everything's great, the before and after the meeting and stuff. And then everyone would be super surprised when they didn't see me, because when I go out, I go out. I don't take nobody with me. I go out and I'm out. And so I've done that for a long time, back and forth. So a lot of those times it was like, I come from a family that's in recovery. So they were telling me I had a problem. They were telling me what I had to do. I need to do this. So I didn't realize until I was 30, and the big things were, wow, I'm 30 and my mom died at 30. I have a daughter. She had only a daughter. When she passed away, she had Hep C. I have Hep C. I'm undiagnosed. I've gotten it treated and taken care of, but here I am, at 30 with Hep C, just like she had. I was doing the same substances, that she was doing, that I said I would never do. So those were the huge pivotal moments that made me finally say, well, I got to do everything that I didn't do all those other times. I got to take all the suggestions, and I got to take this seriously. And what was the second part of that question?
It's, did you seek treatment, rehab, or did you start recovery in another way?
Thank you. So I have been to recovery twice, rehab twice. My last one was when I was 26. For me, this time I just knew I had a problem. I had made so many connections and knew so many people that I just made a call to get into a recovery house. I didn't get on anything, only because I've witnessed so many people. I don't have like anything against MAT. I really don't. And I'm not just saying that because there's other women in here. Kay could speak on the fact that I've never judged anybody for MAT, because your process is your process, right? As long as you're alive, that's what matters, right? For me, I always grew up with that. It's so hard to get off of, the withdrawals. It's like, those types of things. So that fear is why I just didn't go to MAT, because I was like, damn, like if I want to be done, I just want to be done. I don't want to have to continue to go through withdrawal. I don't want to have to continue to go to appointments or whatever. Like, I just want to try to attain some type of freedom, right? Was my mentality. So I just got clean off the streets this last time. And I really hit the ground running. I was in work release my last jail stint. And like I had mentioned, I had signed over physical custody of my oldest from when she was 6 to 9. So she was living with her father. And at the time, it looked real cushy. Man, he had an ex-wife, a wife at the time. She wasn't an ex-wife then. They had 2 kids. They lived in a real nice house in a cul-de-sac, right? And then I found out that things weren't that great, and the ex-wife was leaving, and he was using really heavy, and that they had extension cords plugged in from the neighbors so that she could have electricity. So while I was in work release, I was delivering food and showing her how to microwave things, because that's the only thing that I could do, was to try to help her, because I couldn't physically help her. So when I came in here, I had to hit the ground running. It was, all right, work, do everything I do for probation, stack money. And then I was a week clean, between a week and 2 weeks clean. And I found out I was 3 weeks pregnant with my now almost 9-year-old, So it was a lot of like boom, 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 and I just hit the ground running, and I haven't stopped. A lot of people say you have to get clean for you. I didn't give a shit about me at 30 years old. I didn't give a shit about me for a very long time. I got clean for my oldest. There's plenty of times where, since she's now 19 and she's a girl and we would butt heads, and there's a lot of stuff that comes along with teenagers and just mental health in general. So there's a lot of times where I could have used the excuse and gone back up and picked back up. But she is why I got clean. She is not why I stay clean. I stay clean for me today.
Thank you. If you see me touching this and then talking, it's because I turn off my microphone because I have a fan on. I don't want to distract you guys with any, like, if Kyra comes out of nowhere. So I want literally all the focus to be on your story and what you guys are answering. So I don't want it to be like, oh, she can't hear us. I can hear everything you're saying. You just can't hear like all the busyness in the background. But Miss Angelina,
Sorry, can you repeat them? I know the second part, but what was the first part?
what was the turning point that pushed you toward recovery? And did you seek treatment, rehab, or did you start recovery in another way?
Okay, so my turning point was that call with my dad. So it does go back to that call with my dad. I just couldn't take breaking his heart. So it wasn't for me either. Because if it was for me, if you want me to be completely honest and bold or unfiltered, I probably would still be on drugs to numb the pain. But it was definitely because I wasn't willing to break my dad's heart in complete pieces. And I did not go into a home or anything like that. I did do it cold turkey. What is it called? Yeah, cold turkey. I did relapse a few times, but for the most part, with your opening statement, I would have to probably disagree a little bit. It was willpower for me, and it was a mindset for me, and it was wanting to not do something that was going down the ugliest path I could have ever went down.
Could you repeat the question one more time just so I have it step by step there?
Yes. What was the turning point that pushed you toward recovery? And did you seek treatment, rehab, or did you start recovery in another way?
So that's going to be a loaded answer. So I was definitely forced into it. I had I've been
Amen,
to
sister.
county.
Amen.
Yeah, I've been to county jail, obviously Lehigh, Delaware County, Philadelphia, and then I had to like go through this tour, and I had gotten out, went to my first recovery house, and I met a man in recovery, and we basically took off together. 3 months later, I was on something I never tried before to get off, my DOC. That was his way of getting me clean, and then, he was shot and killed right in front of me in the middle of, a robbery we all took part in. And then I was looking at anywhere from 25 to 40 something years in prison. So I don't see any other way I could have stopped. But by the grace of God, I was only given 3 years. I had wrote a letter to my judge, and he could clearly see I wasn't an idiot, but it took losing or watching somebody's life get taken from them for me to really understand what life even means, and like how much I did want to live, and some people, they just, they go to jail and they just wait for it to be done and they finish out their parole and keep it pushing, but I saw it as an opportunity because I wasn't doing 20 years. And because I had to see the violent board, there was a very big possibility that I wasn't getting out at all. But I got out in exactly 3 years. And it wasn't easy. Like, I got out, I relapsed. I actually went to New Life for Girls. I don't know if anybody's heard of that, being in Lehigh County Jail, but I went to a Christian discipleship program first. And that was like my dream from the time I started my state bid, to go there. And I wish I would have stayed there. I did leave just simply because I couldn't smoke cigarettes. But we all have our path. And my parole officer, I had parole to York County originally, and I was his only parolee that had gotten off of my ankle monitor in the 3 months. Like, that's when you're supposed to get off of it, right? If you're doing everything properly, but nobody has ever gotten off on his caseload in 3 months. So that was like a big step up for me, he helped me believe in myself a little more. Unfortunately, I did relapse after he took my ankle monitor off, and that same parole officer saved my life. And I don't think I really looked back after that. He took me to rehab, took me out of York, told me never to come back. And I went to the Keenan House. I went to the halfway house, and I never looked back. But it was a series of things, a lot of tragedy. We have to bump our head a bunch of times before we really get it. But that's why I say I don't necessarily believe in that NAAA is, one size fits all. I do enjoy going to meetings, and I just don't go as often. I look towards my faith as like my main source of support. But yeah, that's how I was pushed into recovery, unfortunately.
Patty?
So
Do you want me to repeat the question?
only the first part. I know the second part.
Yeah, that's no problem. What was the turning point that pushed you toward recovery? And did you seek treatment, rehab, or did you just start recovery in another way?
Okay, so like I said earlier, CPS coming to my house. Not only that, like I said, sorry, people freaking annoy me. It's always when I'm fucking busy. Anyways,
We will be editing that part out.
so literally the CPS come into my house, and actually because I failed for Subutex, if you guys know what that means, I got off the other shit and started on that shit, because it was a lot stronger, and you didn't have to do so much, if that makes sense. So, but just CPS coming to the house, and then me saving my baby dad's life every other day, like every day. Like, if I'm not calling the ambulance, I had to do it myself because I was trying so hard to protect my kid, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my kid. You know what I mean? Like, I would still be down the path, maybe not even in this world anymore if it wasn't for my kid. So he's literally like what kept me going. But she told me, she was like, go get him prescribed. There's nothing I could do once you do that. So I did. I went and got him prescribed, not the Subutex, I'm on Suboxone. But every day, some of y'all know, I don't like to talk about it, but sorry, I don't like to talk about it. Like, a lot of my people close to me, I have cancer, So they wouldn't let me do my treatments with being on stuff. Um, they would not let me at all do treatments. And so for my kid and for myself, I went and got on subs and I stopped I stopped doing them. Everything. It's so crazy because I have tried every rug there is out there before I even smoked weed. Like a lot of people are the opposite, but I have tried every rug out there before I even smoked weed. Like, um, but yeah, like literally just CPS coming and saving my baby dad's life made me realize like I don't want to be where he's at. I can't take myself there because my kid can't lose both his parents, you know. My kid, like, we already had his dad doing that. I couldn't go down that path and make my kid see both of his parents like that. And then also for me to get my treatments, I had to stay sober. And so for my kid, I got sober. I never went to like housing. I do a program. I go every month. I do a piss test every month. Um, and I get my medicine every month. And then they do counseling like every so often, but it's not even really counseling. You just do, it's called a, like, it's like really like they'll be like, okay, how was your cravings this month? Like questions like that, you know, like, um, they say some word for it, but I forgot it. But really, like, I don't know. But every day, it is actually a big struggle for me because of what I face in lifetime now to this day. If you know, you know. So every day, it comes to my mind like I want to relapse so bad, like so bad, every day of my life. But I can't because my baby needs me. But yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Petty. Um, for me, what was your turning point that pushed you towards recovery? And did you seek treatment, rehab, or did you start recovery? Um, Honestly, it was jail, but not the first, not the second, but the third time. Because the second time was my, I guess, medium stint, and it was 4 months. I went in, got clean. Um, I stood at my low weight, and I came out to what was like a slap in the face, which I'm not gonna talk about it on here because I'm not gonna talk about you on the internet because my mama taught me better than that. But um um the third time was what pushed me to recover and stay recovered because I didn't have to just do 15 months. I also got a letter for a divorce from my first husband. I got a letter for full custody of my child, and my child was being taken away from me. And that girl was my everything because if you know, she is, however you want to take it, a twin. And he passed away 10 days after being born. So I poured all my love into her. And she was my everything. So what treatment? Jail and God. Because that was my higher power. I don't ever talk about politics. I don't ever talk about religion on here. But I believe that with that, me at least, each go hand in hand. He is who I consider my higher power. He is who I consider helped me navigate through all of this because there is times where I can be on the phone with one of my co-hosts, one of my best friends, and I literally will tell her, dude, and I don't know if you ladies ever get this. You can tell me yes or no, but you taste the drip at the back of your throat. And it's
Yes.
that drip of that you could, it's like it was yesterday or like you just used it. And I will tell my best friend, like, dude, that was weird. Like, what? And that's how I know that the same way it's one day at a time, we can relapse at any moment because life is lifing for everyone. You can have the best life, but you can also have the worst life at the same time. You can sit up here, and I am a living proof of this. If you know, you know. Sit up here with a smile on your face, looking like a clown, like nothing is wrong, and your world is deteriorating inside. But, um, Cleo, what was the hardest part about early recovery?
So for me, the hardest part was not knowing, like as I shared previously, when I was in work release, finding out the situation that my daughter was in, not knowing if I could ever be a good mom, not having any experience of being a good mom, but knowing that I had to anyway. Not having anyone in my corner to help me or make it easy. For me, it would just, everything had to come from me, right? So that was the hardest part, was like, how the fuck am I going to do this? And where am I going to start? And am I going to be successful? And all these what ifs and unknowns. And that was just the hardest thing. But, the hope piece is I stacked up money. I had 8 months clean and I got my first apartment. I had 10 months clean and I got full custody back of her. And I never lost it. And I had 3 other children in recovery that never have to, go through the burden of that and see that. However, in recovery, I went from planning a wedding to now that person will be getting out November 30th and they will be on Megan's list. And so that person and I co-parented for, yep. That person and I co-parented for 2 years. If you asked anybody that knew us, they'd be like, wait, what? Like y'all were like it. I thought you'd be it, and that was my third daughter's father. And so did I. You know what I'm saying? People are like, I can't believe that happened. So like we get through things in here. I've lost jobs. I've not known how I was going to pay the bills. I've got shut off notices. I've needed surgeries. Everything began and fell on me. There's times when I didn't eat so the kids could eat, because life be lifing. But the hardest part was the very beginning when I'm like, how am I going to do this with no experience, no tools, no support group, no family, no nothing. So yeah, like there's still a lot of hard parts to come, y'all. But that was the beginning.
Well, that
Um,
surprised me. Spicy.
my hardest part was having to manage the pain without the rugs. Having to deal with my emotions because it was how I drowned them out. It was even now when I go through certain situations, if it wasn't for God, I know I would be back on rugs and my kids. I know I would be because I just remember it's the constant reminder of you can drown out this pain. You would not have to feel it. Like you don't have to, I know like, and trust me, it's not the way to go, guys. Anybody listening, it's not the way to go. I promise. It's so much the pain. If it's away for a second, it comes times back 10 times worse because you're just covering up. I know we're mostly talking about rugs, and I know alcohol is a form of rug. It falls in the same category. But I know for myself, I didn't realize I even like hearing you guys talk right now. We always just talk about being addicted to rugs. Um, but we never really think about the alcohol as such a big factor. But I know, like I tell everybody, everybody always asks me, like, why did I give up alcohol? I was like, because I don't know how to have one. I cannot just have one and be done. I have to go to that blackout. And like I think like listening to your guys' stories, um, I'm grateful that I realized it without the further consequences. But listening to your guys' stories, yeah, that was me. I would wake up with a beer in my hand from the night before. I would buy 30 packs a day, 30 packs a day when I would leave work and finish them like within whatever. And but not till later on in life did I realize, like, excuse me, ma'am, that was rude. Um,
She wants to say her
that
piece too.
that it was such a burden on my life, and like, even how you guys were talking about, like, we're talking about addiction in its whole. Even I'm addicted to TikTok. I didn't realize, like, once you're an addict, you're not an addict to just one thing. You
Hmm.
become like how you were saying. I'm like, damn, like I was thinking back how you were saying, like, oh, I'll buy a book and then I'll buy 20 more. I didn't realize that, like, once you're an addict, it's not just to drugs, it's to everything. Once you're an addict, you're an addict, and it's you always want more of the one, like the little stuff you have. And it's like crazy, like me coming up here thinking I was going to be educated, but I was educated myself, because it is addiction is once you're an addict for life. And it's a constant battle of fighting through those addictions, through every little addiction, big addiction, whether it's the littlest as being addicted to having a collection of pins, or being addicted to rugs. They all go hand in hand. Like I said, they all play a big part, and it's all, like I said, I know for a fact, if it wasn't for God and it wasn't my kids, that I would still be really bad addicted to worse things than what I am addicted to.
And before Caitlin goes, I'm gonna piggyback off of Spicy, Angelina, whatever you guys want to call her. Um, Alcohol, that's one of the reasons why I stopped, because I would start off with a shot, or it's 2 shots or 3 shots, and then it's like, oh, I don't feel anything. My friends can see it. My friends can tell that like I am drunk off my butt, but I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Bish, what? I'm fine. But I wasn't. I wasn't fine. I wasn't okay. And the last time I had a drink, and I did it myself, actually, with to my co-host. I went to Liz, because that is one of my closest and best friends right now. I went to her and I told her my last drinking phenomenal happened on a Friday, and I told her on a Saturday, I was like, I do not want to drink anymore. If I drink, hold me accountable. She goes, but what if, because she knows my personality, she knows how I am. She knows the way I am. So she said, what if you get mad? I said, well, put your foot down. And she said, okay. And she hasn't had to put her foot down. She hasn't had to. She hasn't had to, even because I haven't even, yes, I get the cravings when the day goes bad, like, oh, I want a glass of wine. I don't drink it though. I don't go and buy it. And there's like, I live in a big city. Like, there's a liquor store every other corner, but no. And then, like what Spicy said, social media also addicting. That's why I took a step back. Like, I used to go live all the time, but I only go live on Thursdays now. Because it got to a point where it was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna go live, and I want to go live, and I want to play." No, it's too much. It's taking away time from my kid, that she needs me more than an app does. And then now I'm also putting time into the podcast. So imagine me being addicted to TikTok and doing the podcast and trying to spend time with her. I would have no time for her. And then the last thing Spicy said is, uh, we have addictive personalities. At the end of the day, that's what we have. We we need some we need something to keep us from like, let's just say we were addicted to rugs, right? Yeah, it's about balance. Thank you. we were addicted to rugs, so we got off of rugs, we went to alcohol. Okay, alcohol didn't work, so then we went to social media. Social media didn't work, so then now, oh, let me do this, let me do that. Like, who knows if this podcast and this researching is just an outlet for me to another addiction of mine, just to research and just let it go. But I'm turning this addiction and this researching and this pushing through, and I gotta do more. Because like sometimes Liz has said it in the comments, I don't sleep at night because I'm like, oh, I gotta research this, I gotta do this, I gotta make this better. I make my obsession about it because then it takes me away. I'm not hurting anyone when I do this way. I'm not hurting myself. I'm learning more in in the outcome, and I'm not hurting my child. I'm not hurting my family. I'm like today's. I worked on this for almost 2 weeks. Somebody called off on me today. My Wi-Fi went out today. Everything was going wrong that could go wrong, but I left it in my higher power's hands because I was like, I can't do this by myself. I had anxiety attack after anxiety attack, but we're here. We've been successful. We're doing great. Our stories are being told. And Caitlin, your turn. I'm sorry. What was the hardest part about early recovery?
Excuse me. I would definitely have to say having to sit in your own shit. You know, I had to deal with somebody else's death, feeling like it was on my hands, right? In a jail cell, unable to numb myself. So I was forced to feel all that. You know what I mean? Like, excuse me. And then not only that, but all the destruction that I've done up until that point, I had to sit with that too. And I think that is actually probably the most healing part of it, was having to sit through all that and remember all of those things. And like, instead of pushing it away or trying to put a block in my brain, actually feeling those things is, I think, truly what healed me. And like, instead of like shutting down my voice, right? Because I felt guilty for what happened, of course. But I had a story too, and I didn't do it. I didn't kill him. He was a grown man. He made his own decision, and I was there, and I contributed to it. You know what I mean? But it still affected me. But not only that, just the destruction in general, the chaos in general that was my life. Like, really thinking back to how I've hurt my children in active addiction, and things that they don't even remember, things that they do remember. And like really just going over everything and every word that I went wrong, every shameful thing that I did in addiction, and really thinking about it and like processing it, like processing the mistakes, that was the most freeing part of early addiction for me. And I knew, and I felt better after, and that's where I think, meetings came to play, right? Like, we go in there, we share our experience, our strength, and our hope. And that's why I think it works so well for a lot of people, is because like, you're not silencing yourself, you're not stuffing how you feel, and you're sharing it with the next person who's probably done even more messed up crap than you did. So like, yeah, just sharing my experience was the most healing part of the entire journey, but what aided me in early recovery more than anything.
Thank you, Caitlin. And Petty?
Honestly, kind of like what Spicy said too. I just wanted to take the pain away. It was hard for me when I did get sober. The pain, like my pain every day, and especially for my health, I have pain every day, and just to get through that, like, and then just getting my bond like back with my son was like, that was the hardest part for me, was dealing with the pain. Because when I did quit, I went cold turkey, and then I almost relapsed, so I went back and I got on subs. And the withdrawals, like, almost unalived me, not even gonna lie. Like, I thought opiate withdrawals were horrible. Subutex withdrawals are so bad compared to other withdrawals. I didn't film the first 3 days, but after that third day to literally 2 weeks, um, I couldn't sleep. I was restless. But honestly, just getting through the pain, the withdrawals, and like trying to build my bond back with my son. Now my son can't even go nowhere without me. He's always on my hip. But that was just the hardest part for me.
Thank you, Patty. Um, how do you deal with triggers and cravings today, Cleo?
So, triggers and feelings today look a lot different than they did, a decade ago, right? My triggers are being talked back to by my kids. I got all girls. Um, that mentality. I go back to that street defend myself mentality. Like, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Like mentally. So like those types of things are triggers for me. When like my life has very much been like in recovery. My life has been like that revolving door that you see in a recovery house, right? Not everybody's gonna get it. Not everyone's gonna make it. And so you see that revolving door, and it's kind of like that with the friendships and relationships in recovery for me. Not everyone's going to get it. Not everyone's going to make it. I have been blessed with like solid few, right? And I hold on to them and I pour into them and they pour into me. And I feel very grateful for that. Because they're able to like point things out too, that I can't see myself. Cause like, I believe that self can't spot self. So a lot of the things that trigger me today is like, oh my God, so right now I had to have, surgery on Sunday. I had sepsis. I was in the hospital. I had all these antibiotics, like literally just this past Sunday. Right. So I had to be out of work this week. A trigger for me is financial instability. I start obsessing and freaking out and I lose that faith, and I start to worry and panic. So my triggers aren't like if I smell something, because I mean, my freaking neighbors in my house, it's one of those houses that is split down the middle and they smoke. So I'll smell it. So like, that's not a trigger for me. If I see someone messed up, it's not a trigger for me. So it's not really about the rugs anymore. And it hasn't been for a long time because I had just kept going out and done everything. I crossed everything off my list. There's everything I've freaking tried. There's so much devastation there that like my triggers just look different than they used to 10 to 15 years ago. If I used to smell weed, I would want to smoke weed 10, 15 years ago. It was really that simple. Today, it's when a friend tells me that they're going to help me and then they don't, and I don't hear from them. It's that I have to do everything alone all the time. It gets heavy and it gets hard. It's all these things that I have to juggle. You know what I mean? So it's like the overwhelmingness of being overstimulated, constantly being needed, with only me to pour into me, and trying to figure out how to consistently do that. Because self-care, a lot of times, like my head goes to like, oh, you got to buy something for self-care. Self-care correlates to like me having to actually do something outside of myself, right? But today I'll freaking, I'll take a face pad and clean my face, and that's self-care. A long hot shower, 8 hours of sleep, which doesn't come often. You know what I mean? And those are the ways that I combat the triggers of being overwhelmed, overstimulated, and like fear. Because fear is really, like I've heard the devil a lot, and for me, like that would be like my devil is fear. That's all I got.
My triggers are gonna sound very strange and weird. Yeah, hold on, give me a second. My main trigger is like when I'm going through a moment, and like I said, it's always gonna go back to numbing the pain. Numbing the pain is gonna be my main trigger. Knowing that I can numb the pain, knowing that I don't have to feel. And then probably, like I said, it's gonna be a weird one, but like that drip, like you said, conversations like this, seeing, like, I could do so much of the what is it called? The intervention show. What is that show called? Is it intervention? It's intervention, huh? Okay. And like, this is gonna be probably the weirdest. The smell of burnt hair. The smell of burnt hair gets me. Not all the time. Like, I can shave my hair most times and it won't trigger me. But there's times where, like, I do it and then I smell it. Because I don't know what everybody was on. We really didn't touch on that. And I could, like, I don't know why the burn of it. I don't know. That will trigger me.
Talking about triggers, correct?
How do you deal with triggers and cravings today?
Honestly, like the only time I don't want to say I don't have any triggers because then like what the hell am I doing here, right? But I've been able to get clean in a place like I could never stay clean in. So it's very hard to say what triggers me. My emotions definitely get me there, but like, I reach out today. You know what I mean? I have a great CRS. I've been with her for 5 years now, and like I couldn't have done this without her.
Hold on, Caitlin. For those of you who don't know what CRS means, it's a certified recovery specialist, and they work within the community to help addicts.
And she's my biggest support, I think. But like I guess my biggest trigger is like if I'm talking to somebody about like going through war stories, right? Because like then you remember how you felt in that moment, and like it was fun at the time, before the consequences came and things like that. So I tend to back out of those conversations very quickly. But my emotions definitely get me there. I just think now the difference is I have coping skills. I was in prison during the pandemic. We were locked down 23/1. So like you're forced to cope, and
You were. I got out of like I think like a week and a half too, right before it happened.
yeah. And like, I think it was the second I hit general population up there, like I was just classified and immediately they shut us down. So like you're forced to sit in your shit, you know what I mean? So, but like I said, like coping skills, I have never had those. Like, my addiction was my coping skill, plain and simple. Destruction was my coping skill. So, and I always go back to like, if I can get through what I went through, there's nothing I can't get through. I've already been through the worst day of my life. You know what I mean? So, and that's why I think this past year, like, though it was the hardest freaking year of my life, it was also the easiest to deal with because now I have coping skills. You know what I mean? And it sounds like real corny, like, oh, I have coping skills, but like, bro, that's the biggest thing that has got me where I am. Like I used to crash out, in a second. Like I was in and out of the hole all the time. Like I was just my thing. So, it's just not who I am anymore. Like it's just not an option. Like I just don't think about, like, I know it was part of my life. I don't forget where I came from, by any means, but I don't know. It's just not a thing anymore. That is all.
Thank you, Caitlin. Petty.
Honestly, my triggers is like confrontation, abuse, stuff like that triggers me. Or if I'm in a situation, because I'm the type where I try to do everything by myself, but sometimes I do lean in and ask people, but I hate it because even just trying to talk to someone, I feel like a burden. But um, like I struggle every day. Like, not a day goes by where I don't have that craving or something don't trigger me. But I fight it every day, and I just look at my son. And I'm like, you got this. Like, you're gonna get through this. Bible study in church has helped me a lot too. But really just confrontation. And I am a crash out. I don't try to be, but like, I'm a very emotional person, and if you know, you know. But I also let a lot of things get to me too. And but yeah, just I have a lot of triggers, and I'm still learning every day how to get past them and defeat it.
Thank you. How do you deal with triggers and cravings today? I think I answered this earlier on today. I mean, earlier on in this episode, but like but triggers wise, both my baby dads are my triggers. Um, but they gave me the greatest blessings in the world, and but they're just, yeah, those are my triggers. I crash out the hardest. And I have to learn. I am in a very long, long, long healing process. That's why I say I am in recovery. I am not recovered because God only knows I am still healing and I am trying to self love myself every day. So, and then cravings. I traded craving rugs for craving this candy right here. This is my DOC right now. Like I have like three in the freezer. This one's almost empty. And don't get me started because this is amazing. But next question. If you could go back and speak to yourself during your addiction, what would you say?
Hmm. Um, to listen to my intuition. You know, like I grew up in a generation where it was like, this is your brain on drugs with the fried egg. And it was very much like a very taboo, you know, to do that. Like I knew when I was using certain substances, like with the exception of like the drinking or smoking or when I was looking, um, that would be different. Like that was very social, very, oh, it's all love, peace, love, harmony, whatever, right? Um, but with the other substances that were harsher, like I knew better. I knew better. And I didn't listen to my tuition. So that would be like the one thing that I would tell myself is like that I think could have kept it. Now, mind you, I still would have been an addict in other forms. I still would have had all my pens and my notebooks and all that stuff, right?
Amen, sister.
I still would have been locked and loaded in obsession. But I possibly could have healed sooner, you know what I mean, from the stuff that I was trying to run away from. I could have avoided some jail sentences, that's for sure, because I wouldn't have gotten locked up hoarding freaking pens. That's not how life works. Um, so just like to tell myself, like, let it be a phase, you know, like let it just be like a little social thing and not do all that other harsher stuff and get addicted to the racing and the fighting and the money and just the affiliation and all that. Like that's what I would have avoided. I would have listened to that because I knew better. Like I just ignored my conscience.
Thank you. Spicy.
Um, oh, I would. There's a light at the end of this tunnel that I'm not stuck, and that there's a plan and a purpose. and to wake up sooner. Yeah.
Thank you, Spicy. Caitlin?
Um, I think like I was just a very scared kid. Like I said, I don't think I ever really felt like I belonged. I always felt a little bit alone. Um, but just I don't know. That's a tough one. And I've know I've been asked it several times, but I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that question, to be honest. If you want to move on to the next person.
No, that's fine. There are some questions that we don't know how to answer them. Why? Hold on. There are some questions that we don't know how to answer them when, like, at times there's not. So it's perfectly fine not to have an answer. Petty?
So kind of in the same boat. I really don't know how to answer this a question, so I'm just gonna say like what comes to mind. Really, like, honestly, I wouldn't, if I didn't go through what I did go through, I wouldn't have learned what I know today. But honestly, like, to tell like, to go back and just be able to tell myself, stop before you're ahead. Like what I just wish what I knew today, I could tell myself back then, like, to help me where I didn't go down the path that I did, but I can't do that.
Okay. For me, hold on, I gotta just pop. Everything is, but if I could go back and speak to myself during my addiction, what would I say? Um, this is gonna sound so bad, so I'm not even gonna say it. Forget it. But just get out now.
Unfiltered.
Don't give a fuck. But yes, I would have told myself to run and take my child and never look back. Next question is, what's one misconception people have about addiction that you wish you could clear up?
Only one. Like a few are popping up. That you have to be poor. You have to come from the projects. You have to. You choose it. This is choice as opposed to like something that feels like it's the only option or a solution. For most cases, a lot of commonalities that I hear is people felt like it was their solution, whether it be because they didn't have anybody or they I can get you more yogurt. I'm gonna get it right now. Ooh, child. They sassy just like me. They got my attitude. I can't even be mad half the time because I mean, like, okay, it's me. But yeah, those are a lot of like the misconceptions that people think is like you got to be poor, you got to be this, you choose to do it, and sometimes that's the only out a lot of us have is like the commonality and all the stories that I had. Like we didn't have nothing, we didn't have nobody, and those people are the ones that showed us love. At the end of the day, that's all I got.
Yes, it's just mom hour because here you're gonna have to hear mine too. I one of the biggest misconceptions, and I do not like it, and I know it's a big controversial one, is because of their parents. It's because of past trauma. It's because of this. It's because of that. I had an amazing childhood. My parents were amazing, and I still chose rugs. It's not always just because of how somebody was raised is the reason why people end up doing rugs. A lot of people do have that background, but it's not always the case. And obviously, the one that we're all thieves. And of course, I would have to agree with Chloe when she says that it's a choice we make.
Ready for me? No, everybody's answer is definitely great. I think one of the big ones is like for women, like we all have daddy issues and we're trying to fill that void, you know? But hey, I had my dad my whole life. In and out of, you know, and I was in and out of recovery my whole life. And he was the first person to get me the help that I needed. So a lot of us are just a little lost and we lose that connection somewhere along the way. And we're definitely trying to fill the void, though.
So my biggest one, and it really irks me so bad when people say this, it makes me want to punch them through the screen, no lie, is they say, like, when somebody's expressed, like, telling their story of addiction or how they was in addiction or how they're still in addiction, oh, that could never be me. Yes, it could. It definitely could. And that shit irks my skin when they're like, oh, that could never be me. I could never put myself in that situation. Yes, you could. It don't just, oh, we magically wake up one day and just choose it. It don't happen that way. And like the fact that it just irks me so bad when people say that, because you could be that statistic too. Don't think that you can't. Don't have that mindset. I mean, I hope that you keep that mindset in a kind of a way, like make yourself strong to not go down that path, because I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But don't ever think you can't be in that predicament, because you can.
I need to piggyback off of someone who said that, I think it was Cleo, that it only happens to people who are in the projects, who this, who that. Well, I'm piggybacking off of all of you guys, because I mentioned some of these things in the beginning of the podcast. It doesn't matter what walk of life you have taken. You could be rich, you could be poor, you can be black, white, orange, blue. If addiction wants you, it'll take you down with you. Take you and whoever down with you. And I no, I was still using, but I wasn't using as heavy. Oh, I wasn't using as heavy. That's my excuse at the time. But we were living at a friend's house and we witnessed a car accident right in front. Like the car came up and hit another car and the guy OD'd in front. No problem. OD'd right in front in the driver's seat. He had a suit on. And listen, you can tell when when that suit was expensive. And he had it the way the cops were taking everything out, it was just like, okay, so this man, yeah, he comes from money. Just some people can hide it better than others. And that's just one misconception that's like what? No, it doesn't matter what walk of life you're coming from. If it's gonna take you down, it's gonna take you down. And the last question is, do you consider yourself fully recovered or is it more of a daily process? This is Miss Cleo.
Fully recovered. Oh man, I'm trying not to laugh. For me, it is a process. Even though if I don't think about using, right, because of the devastation that it caused and all the different angles that I have examined it on how that's just not going to work, right? And it's not attractive and all that. I still know that in order to keep what I have to give it away. In order to keep where I'm at and not regress to thinking that it's a good idea to, because I mean, like, people could go to jail without picking up. You know, like, my behaviors will get me locked up if I'm not recovering and vigilant with what I need to do and where like, I'm definitely healed in some areas, and still need a lot of healing in others. There's still a lot of work to do.
Okay, thank you. Spicy?
That's a tough one. Yes, I believe I'm recovered. I do believe I'm still in recovery, if that makes sense. I feel like I've recovered from the depths of being in that, wanting it all the time, every day. I feel like I've recovered from the trauma that held and bounded me to the rug. But I do believe I'm in recovery every day, because it's not like tomorrow doesn't know what. I don't know what tomorrow holds. And it could be of a blink of an eye. I could be in one place, and just like the first time I ever used, I could fall right back into that same temptation. So I do believe we are always recovering. We will always be addicts. Unfortunately, that isn't a stigma. It is a fact. Once we're addicts for life.
Caitlin, consider yourself fully recovered, or is it more of a daily process?
Hell no. It's definitely a daily process for me. I can't reiterate it enough that this year's been the year from hell. I definitely have to take self-inventory. That's something that I definitely practice daily, because I think that's one thing that definitely takes me back out. It's like shame as to how like I treated somebody possibly that day. You know what I mean? Like if I did, I need to make it right, or I'm not going to be able to sleep that night. That's just who I am. So it's definitely a daily process. I don't think anybody's fully recovered. And if you find somebody, please point them in my direction, because I've got some work to do.
Ready?
So mine is definitely a daily. I would never ever be fully recovered. You could be recovered, but you can never be fully, because once you're an addict, you could be an addict in recovery, like you're never just gonna, oh, I did that and I recovered. You recover, but you're still an addict regardless. And it sucks, especially like to have that name or that title, but that's just the way addiction works, because you may think you're fully recovered, but you can relapse the next day. So for me, it's definitely still daily. Every day it's a different urge. Especially somebody said earlier that drip. Yes. Oh my gosh. That makes me, that's like one of my triggers too. But yeah, I feel like for me, it's daily. It's a process. It's not something you could just, oh, I'm not doing them no more. It's more than to that, like it's just more to it. Yeah.
Thank you, Patty. I have to say it's a daily process on both ends, on the hard rugs or the easy rugs and alcohol. It's a daily process. I am recovering, and I still consider myself, I'm not recovered yet. I am still recovering. Patty?
Can I add something real quick? Another thing is, someone said earlier, like, alcohol is not as bad. It's just the same. It's just like a rug. It's literally the same process, the same. Just because it's something different, just because it ain't some hard rug, it's still the same process. It's still the same recovery. It's just like a hard rug. Regardless, anything that is addicting in that way or takes your life is basically a hard rug. Like,
Thank you. Um, I may I may not have done this at the beginning, but it's important that we pause for a moment of silence to remember those that we lost to this disease. But thank you, ladies, for being so vulnerable and sharing your story with us today. Addiction and recovery aren't easy topics, but hearing your truth can inspire and help someone else who's listening right now. To our listeners, if you or someone you love is struggling, remember you're not alone and recovery is possible. Stay strong, stay unfiltered, and we'll see you next time. And thank you, ladies, so much again.